The purpose of this video is for us to review the weather and climate of the United States, as well as a little bit about our natural resources. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Our weather and climate is really the most important aspect of where it is that we live. Weather and climate both have a really extreme impact on your life. In the morning, whenever you wake up to go to school, your mom or dad has probably already checked the weather and they advise you what you're supposed to wear to school so that you can be warm and safe. In the summertime, we wake up in the morning and we see, okay, is today going to be a day that we're going to go out and go to the pool? Or is it going to rain? Our casual conversations, they often start with, talking about the weather. Hey, how about that weather out there today? It looks like it's going to be a nice day. Or, oh man, another day of rain? That stinks. So, weather plays a very important role in our life. Now, one of the things that we often get confused about, or that we make mistakes about, is the difference between climate and weather. So here it is. The weather is the things that is happening right now. It's the weather conditions, what's happening outside right at this moment, or just yesterday, or what's going to happen tomorrow. That includes the temperature, the amount of rainfall that we're going to get, and potentially the wind and humidity. Our climate is, it's the average weather over a period of time. And in most cases, when we're talking about climate, people who study climate, they average out the climate over about 30-year time period. This allows us to make assumptions about what the weather is going to be like in the future. It helps us to predict when we should plan our vacations and when we should plan to have days off because of snow days. When we're thinking about the weather here in the United States, there are three main factors that really help to determine what our weather or our climate is going to be like. Those factors are ocean currents, the direction that the ocean moves, and we'll talk about why that is in just a second. It's our mountain ranges, and then finally, the latitude, how far away a location is from the equator. Let's go ahead and talk right about ocean currents really quickly. So here on this map, we can see all of the different ocean currents that we have throughout the United States. The red and blue arrows show you the direction in which the ocean moves. Now, we don't necessarily see these currents happening on top of the water. It's happening just under the surface. That our waters move in this fashion. As we look here along our east and west coasts of the United States, we can see that the currents, that they move in a clockwise fashion. Okay? So how do these currents impact the weather in the United States? Well, on the east coast, notice that the currents begin down in the warm waters of the Caribbean Ocean, and they head up the northern coast of the eastern part of the United States towards New York. Even New York's water temperatures are a little bit warmer because of these currents. Those warm water, that warm water, it warms the air around the water, and it makes the climate, or that makes the temperatures of those locations along the coast just a little bit warmer because the water is warm. In the west coast, notice that those ocean currents start up near Alaska. They bring cooler waters from near Alaska down the west coast into California. Water temperatures over the ocean cool the air temperatures around it. When the wind blows off the ocean towards California, it blows cooler ocean air into the west coast of the United States. This allows some temperatures in Southern California to be really, really fantastic, even though it's closer to the equator. It's further south than Pennsylvania. Their temperatures there are very, very mild. Next, let's talk about our mountain ranges and the impact that they have on our climate. In the United States, all of our mountain ranges run from north to south, and we can see it here. We have our Appalachian Mountains. Just change the color here. Our Appalachian Mountains, they run north and south. our Rocky Mountains that run north and south, our Cascades, and our Sierra Nevadas all run north to south. And this plays a role in impacting our temperatures. As air masses build over top of the Pacific Ocean, I'm going to go ahead and just write air masses here. As they build over the Pacific Ocean, they are going to travel towards the east. And as they head inward into California, those air masses, they reach the Cascade and Sierra Nevada mountain ranges. This forces the air masses to elevate, to go higher into the sky in order to get over top of those mountain ranges. As the air mass goes higher into the sky, it cools because with elevation, we see cooler temperatures. Any moisture that is being carried in that air mass as it raises up and cools as it goes over the mountains, it's going to be forced out because clouds cannot carry moisture in that cold air. It just doesn't allow it. So it rains. We see rainfall on the western side of these mountains. Rainfall on the western side. And then in this area right here, there is no more moisture left in the air in order to allow rain to fall in there. So what we have is a very, very dry climate in this area. It's very hot and dry in there, okay? That's the role that our mountain ranges play. And not many places in the world have all of their mountain ranges that run north to south like the United States does. Finally, let's talk about the role that latitude plays in our climate and our temperatures. As you notice here, we have the Earth, and it's broken down into different regions of latitude. We have our equator area that cuts the Earth right between two hemispheres in the northern and southern hemisphere, our 30 degrees north and south hemisphere, and then our 60 degrees north and south latitude. So when we look here at this map, we can see that right near the equator, the sun has direct rays that are going to strike right along the equator. And that is going to always be the warmest part of the Earth. It's always going to be warm right there along the equator. Now, what I want you to notice is as we move away from the equator, right, the sun's rays strike the Earth a little bit less directly. It's sort of like glancing blows, right? Now, these areas that I just highlighted with the arrows, those are still relatively warm regions, pretty much year-round, right? But it's not direct sunlight like what the equator is getting. Now, as we move further away from the sun to further northern or southern latitudes, we can see that the sun's rays are even more indirect. It's at a lower angle, and the more indirect the sun's rays, the less warm the temperature is going to be. The less warm the sun's going to heat those areas. So that is the impact that latitude has on our climate and weather in the United States. The further away we are from the equator, the cooler the temperatures are going to be. The United States has a greater variety of climates than any other country in the world. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of these different climate areas. Here in the east and the south, in this area right here, we can see that they all have a similar climate. These people down here live in an area that is very warm and very humid. Southerners are going to have very mild winters, with warm, humid summers. And it's going to be a subtropical climate. Most of Florida is going to be warm all year round. As we get up into the more northern parts of the Northeast, right, it's going to be a little bit more temperate climate. So it's going to be what we call a humid continental. They're going to have snowy winters there that are going to be long, and then they're going to have warm, humid summers. They'll also have both a fall and a spring time period. As we move into the interior plains region, so that's going to be this area right here, Temperatures are going to vary greatly throughout this region. Typically, summers are usually hot and dry, and most of the region has a humid continental climate with very long, cold winters. But again, not too much snow, they're mostly dry. As we head into the west, this portion of the United States, climates are mostly, again, very dry. The Pacific Northwest has, and that's this area right here, it has a wet, mild coastal climate. The region's coldest climates are in Alaska, which has a subarctic and tundra climates. And Hawaii is the only state with a warm tropical climate. Let's talk a little bit about the natural hazards in the United States. Earth's physical systems create patterns around us that influence our lives. Every region of the United States has its own distinctive natural hazards. In the Pacific Northwest, it's this area up here, the mountains are mostly volcanoes. Natural hazard, right? Much of California sits where two tectonic plates meet under the Earth's surface, causing earthquakes, right? When these plates rub together, they form earthquakes. Every summer, the hot and dry land in the west becomes prime target for wildfires, and we can see that here on the map as well. If we were to head along the Atlantic coast and Gulf of Mexico in late summer and early fall, we know that the weather systems down there can bring hurricanes into the region. The United States is in danger of getting hit by as many as 6 hurricanes a year. The warm waters of the Atlantic Ocean and the Caribbean Sea meet the strong winds and create powerful storms. Finally, the Midwest area of the United States has conditions that are perfect for tornadoes. So perfect that they sometimes call this area Tornado Alley. Natural hazards influence where we live, how we build our homes, and how we prepare for storms. In the Tornado Alley region, they have special warning sirens that go off when storms develop that might form dangerous tornadoes. What are some of the natural hazards that we have right here in Erie, Pennsylvania? Okay, let's shift gears and talk a little bit about the natural resources that are available here in the United States. The United States is extremely rich in natural resources. The toast that we eat for breakfast was made with wheat that was grown in the fertile soils of the interior plain. The bus or car that you rode to school would use gasoline that came from Alaska, California, or maybe Louisiana or Texas. The United States is a major oil producer, but it uses more oil than it produces, which means that we still have to get oil from other countries. Valuable non-renewable natural resources are mined in the Appalachian and Rocky Mountains. Coal supplies energy for about 1/3 of the electricity that's produced in the United States. And we have about a quarter or 25% of the world's coal reserves. Other important resources include forest and farmland, which cover most of our country. Trees in our forest provide timber that is used in constructing buildings and homes. Wood is also used to make paper. Farmland produces a variety of crops, including wheat, corn, soybeans, cotton, fruits, and vegetables that can be sold here in the United States or around the world. That pretty much sums up our weather and natural resources in the United States.